feeling that was not there before. Elul was something. Racham. We learned that Elul is really Yimei Racham and Baratzon. Elul is really times of incredible revelation of Hashem's compassion. We explained last Chodesh that this was primarily brought about through Moshe Rabbeinu beseeching Hashem for the 40 days from the beginning of Elul till Yom Kippur, and brought about from what was going to be an impending disaster and tragedy, the Chet HaEgel, the sin of the calf, and resulted in complete forgiveness. In turn, Nissan viewed the Chodesh of Elul with Racham, with great compassion. And it's for that reason that we introduce the times of judgment with Elul, and that there is a time of compassion and mercy that precedes judgment. And that's when we ready ourselves for that judgment. Tishrei is a very different person. Completely different personality than El. Tishrei, the Bnei Yissaschar says, is the Midas Hadin. This is when Hashem's attribute of strict justice is that which is revealed. The month is enveloped in Hashem's strict justice. Rosh Hashanah, Seres Meitzhuva, Yom Kippur, and even Sukkot is partially touched by that, because Hoshana Rabbah is the conclusion of the din. It's called Siyuma Dedina, the conclusion of the din. So really the whole month of Tishrei is enveloped in din, in revelation of Hashem's strict justice. One of the most fascinating hints to this, that the Chodesh of Tishrei is about din, it's something absolutely amazing that the Bnei Yissaschar says. Every month, every Chodesh, 12 of them, parallel one of the 12 tribes. Okay? That makes sense to us, because 12 tribes really stand for 12 essential personalities that everyone belongs to as a relationship to. 12 Shvatim, all the Jewish people that come from these Shvatim stand for 12 basic personality types. Each Shevet parallels a month. The personality of the month is in line with the personality of the Shevet. What Shevet parallels the month of Tishrei? And Yissaschar says this is the Shevet of Ephraim. Ephraim is the 7th tribe when you order it according to how they traveled in the Midbar, the desert. Tishrei is the 7th month. So really the month of Tishrei is the personality of Ephraim. What is the personality of Ephraim? Says the Bnei Yissaschar. There's a story in Shoftim about Yiftach HaGiladi. He was a Shofet, not a tzaddik, but he was a leader, and he was provoked into civil war by Shevet Ephraim. He went to war with another people, and they didn't invite the tribe of Ephraim to join him. This aroused their anger, didn't know, didn't care to meet them, and they went into war. Yiftach and his party devised a plan how they could detect somebody from the Shevet Ephraim. They would stand at these crossings, and if somebody would come, they would ask them, say the word Shibolas. If they responded Shibolas, then they were safe. If they responded Sibolas, this was a very clear indication they were from the tribe of Ephraim, and they killed them. Because Ephraim had a speech impediment, they were unable to articulate the shin. A shin has three kavim, three lines to a shin. These three lines stand for the foundation of the Jewish people. The right line is Avraham Avinu, of course. The Midas HaChesed. This is the character of loving kindness. The left kav, the left line, is the character of Yitzchak, character of Midas Hadin. And the middle, of course, that which bridges these two opposite midos and synthesizes them, is the midah of Yaakov. So the Bnei Yisachar, Ephraim couldn't articulate the shin. What is a shin? When you place the dagish, over the right kav, over the right line, you get a shin. He couldn't say a shin. They didn't have this midah of chesed. They could only say a sin, which is when you put a dot over the left line, you get a sin. Sibodas. Because Ephraim, their whole character, was a character of judgment, strict, stern. Ephraim, the tribe of Ephraim, is the personality of the month of Tishrei. It's strange though, because the whole month is enveloped in this very strict attribute of justice. And there's judgment. And yet, it's not love. There's nothing sad about Tishrei. Just the opposite. It actually has a certain sense of closeness to it, which makes the whole month the more puzzling. How is it that the month has a whole character? Is the midah of din, Hashem's strict attribute of strict justice, and yet the personality of the month seems to be something very favorable. Just the opposite. In Elul, we introduced the idea that the month is expressed by the pasuk Ani L'Dodi, L'Dodi Li. I am to my beloved. My beloved is to me. To which the Baal Tanya explained that this pasuk has to be broken into two pieces. Ani L'Dodi is Elul. That is when a Jew initiates, makes a move in a relationship toward Hashem. Ani L'Dodi. L'Dodi Li, my beloved is to me. Hashem makes a movement toward us. Says the Baal Tanya, it's Tishrei. It's puzzling. Tishrei is the whole month. The personality is judgment. And we're being judged for the majority of the month. And yet, this is the month that says V'dodi li. Hashem is close to me. Judgment sends us the other way. Judgment says that we should be fearful. We should keep distance. The Dodi Li implies that Hashem is moving with their closeness to us. How do you make sense of that? So the answer really lies in his hands. I'll have to concentrate here. The Zohar Kodesh tells us that the month of Tishrei is reflected in the pasuk from Shiur. It says the following: Smolo tachas deroshi, v'yamino techavekeni, which means his left hand is under my head, and his right hand hugs me, embraces me. Smolo tachas deroshi, his left hand is under my head, v'yamino techavekeni, and his right hand embraces me. Now, usually when Sukkim or Chazal speak of the left hand, usually the left hand pushes away. Usually the left hand is a symbol of keeping someone at a distance. Right hand is usually a symbol of drawing someone close. In parenthood, say, is the discipline of the left hand, that's the discipline, and the right hand is the affection. Now, if you listen to this pasuk, it doesn't say that. This pasuk says, "Smalo tachas roshi." His left hand is under my head, under my head. V'yimino techavekeni, and his right hand embraces me. That means that the left hand is being used as part of the embrace. The left hand is supporting the head, holding you. The right hand is drawing you in, embracing you. Troubling. The month of Tishrei does not seem to reflect any sort of the left hand drawing you close. This is the month of judgment. How do you understand? Our challenge begins because we don't properly relate to and understand this character of judgment. Let's try to get a marshal to explain it. If a child gets in trouble with their parents, you know they're in trouble. But they also know that their parents are going to treat them as their parent and their child. So there's less to be concerned about. When you get in trouble in school, you have to go to the principal. That's something very different. Everything about it says you should be very afraid. Anyone who's had the experience knows that there's a queasy feeling in your stomach. You have internal nervousness because you know that when you go into the principal's office, there's no affection it's going to give into you. It's not the relationship. You're going to be treated with din. What happened? What happened in the classroom? It's fearful. It's frightening. It causes us nervousness. Our trouble is that when we think of the Yamim Noraim, days of awe, we think toward the principal's office. See, we think of judgment, being judged. And everything about that says you should be extremely nervous, uptight, anxious, uncomfortable. How do we properly look at the Yamim Noraim and this character of judgment? It's a continuum. When we look at Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, we think, oh, you know, Sukkot, I said it earlier, sometimes we're waiting for the Jewish year to get into a better mood. Our problem is that we see it disconnected. So Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, Sukkot. The truth is, that's really a continuum. And this is how the Islam Rebbe said. In the pasuk in Tehillim that we say on Rosh Hashanah night, Su'u sha'arim rasheichem, v'hinasu pischei olam, v'yavo malach hakavod. We say it Rosh Hashanah night, and we sing it. Listen to this. Su'u sha'arim rasheichem, he says, this is Rosh Hashanah. Open up the beginnings, the heads of your gates. Rosh Hashanah. V'hinasu pischei olam, raise up the Pesach, the entrances, the eternal entrances, and Kippur. Yavo Malach HaKavod, let the honorable king come, service. And he explains. Su'u Sharm Sheichem, open up the heads of the gates. Hashanah. That introduces, it's the gate. Just as the gate is that which is most outermost. You must cross first. Rosh Hashanah is the entry into this man. V'hinasa Pesach Olam, raise up the Pesach, the entrance. A Pesach, an entrance, is that which you will find within a gate. First you will pass a gate, and then you will come to the door, the Pesach, the entry, the opening. It's Yom Kippur. It says it is inner. Yom Kippur, he says the Kohen Gadol enters Lifnai into the Kodesh HaKadosh, into a place that one does not go. Yom Kippur is a greater and greater entry, closer entry. V'yavo Malach HaKavod, and let the honorable king come. That's Sukkot. Why? Because the king comes to you. It means you are right in the proximity of the king himself. You're like an inner chamber. You've made it from the gate to a door to the king's room itself. Sukkot. Even greater. Shmini Atzeres. Come back. It's a continuum. Our mind takes us to dislocation, disconnection. This is Yom Noraim, days of awe, fear, and there's Sukkot, happy days. It's a Zman, it's a time that begins with Rosh Hashanah, concludes with Sukkot, Shmini Atzeres, and they don't happen to be squeezed into 21 days, but they follow one after the other. This man of Rosh Hashanah and Kippur Sukkot is reflective really of different midos, Hashem's different character that's very, very prevalent at this time. The first, which is the judgment, Hashem judges, invokes yira, awe, reverence. What is this yira? The yira is really a seriousness. It's an awareness that Hashem really judges. There is consequence to action. It's serious. It means that things aren't carefree. Serious. What does it do in a relationship? It makes it solid. It makes it support. The seriousness to a relationship means that there is a consequence. There is an answer, a response to that which you do. It makes the relationship serious, real. It has meaning, significance. This is what it means. Smolo tachas devoshi. It is the left hand under my head. What does it mean? What is the left hand doing? Support. Solidity. It's holding the person up. Rosh Hashanah's intention, Kippur's intention, is not to fill a person with nervousness, to the sense that there is uncomfortability. Rosh Hashanah and Kippur is supposed to instill within a person a seriousness and a solidity to the relationship with Hashem. Yes, it's real. Yes, there's consequence. Yes, there's judgment. That's what makes the relationship significant, substantial, solid. Smolo tachas devoshi. His left hand supports me, keeps my head up. V'yimino techabekeni. Sukkot brings in something very different. In the continuum, Sukkot brings in closeness, love. Hashem's midah of ahava, of love, is more apparent. V'yimino techabekeni. This is how we really embrace judgment. Because judgment is really It's a very delicate point because this character, this midah of yira, can easily be misunderstood. Either it causes people to distance themselves from it. I don't want to have that part of Yiddishkeit in my life. I want to just be chilled and relaxed and on my own terms. Or often it causes a person to have anxiety. They used to say that when Elul comes, even the fish in the sea shake. And sometimes that message results in that we understand that to be an uncomfortability we should have. And that uncomfortability pushes us away. It's not a left hand that supports. It's a left hand that's docha, pushes away. It's not the midas hayira. It doesn't belong in the relationship in Yiddishkeit. The left hand means that the relationship is serious. There's consequence. And yes, are judged. It doesn't push you away. It holds you in an embrace. Rabbi Aaron of Karlin wrote this about his father. Adoni Avi Mori Berevi, my father, my master, my teacher. Zeichat Tzadik V'Kadosh L'Racha L'Chayim Ha'Olam. K'shayakore b'Shabbos Zeh, when he would read on this Shabbos, Parshas Acharei Mos, Parshas Yom Kippurim, the section that dealt with the service of the Kohen Gadol in Kippur, as Acharei Mos does. Haya lo ga'agun gedolim. He had tremendous yearnings for Yom Kippur. Kil'at ad klos hanefesh, almost to the point that he expired. His soul left him. His father so longed and looked toward Yom Kippur in such a way that it almost caused him to expire. What type of relationship to Yom Kippur is this? It's not a left hand that pushes away. It's a left hand that holds you while you're being embraced. The nusach, the flavor, the character of the month is a month of judgment. V'dodili. And yet, it's the month that Hashem draws himself close to us. How? Through din, through judgment. Through holding you up and making you aware that you're being judged. That this relationship is something solid. And then b'minotecha b'kim. And then his right hand embraces you, draws you close in times of sukkahs. And it culminates, it concludes in Shemini Atzeres. Shemini Atzeres, all the Svarim say, is yichud. If Tishrei brings an ever-increasing closeness, Shemini Atzeres is the height and the climax of that closeness. Similar to Shabbos, that has an ever-increasing kedusha and closeness to it, beginning with Friday night, which our Svarim describe as kiddushin, as engagement, while we sing Achadodi L'Kraskala that the relationship of Hashem and Yisrael on Shabbos, Friday night, is an initial engagement. It's heightened Shabbos morning, Yismach Moshe B'Manas Chalko. The Torah was given on Shabbos in the morning. And the Torah is called Chuppah, marriage. And the Shabbos and closeness of Hashem to Yisrael is Nesuin, is marriage. Shalosh Seudos, the third meal, we spoke about yesterday, is the culmination of when the Chassan and Kala are together alone. The same way, the Yamim Noraim flow. Rosh Hashanah is an initial engagement, the gate. Yom Kippur is a marriage, and indeed, on Yom Kippur was a day that marriages happened. The Mishnah says there were no greater days of joy for the Jewish people like Tu B'Av and Yom Kippur. So Yom Kippur was a day of actual marriage. Yom Kippur is Nesuin. Sukkot is already something different. So the sukkah is a place of a private space, a space of closeness. Shnei Atzeres is the height of it all. This is Yichud. No one else is there, just the Chassan and Kala. So as far as say that Hashem says to the marshal to a king, people come and visit, and they homage to the king and they enjoy with the king, and everyone's there. And the king says, thank you, and it's time for you to leave. And he sends everybody home except for one particular person, citizen. He says, you stay with me. Shemini Atzeres is no one else there. It's just that person. This is Yisrael, the Jewish people. So that we begin with Rosh Hashanah. It's initial engagement. And it concludes in Shemini Atzeres, which is private, Yichud, alone. And it sets the tone for a whole year. We introduce the whole year, the whole Shana, with this flavor, this nusach, with this sense of what the year is supposed to be. Concentrated, packed into 21 days. And then unfold over the year. I spoke about last month dedicating ourselves to learning daily and suggested that everyone should make an effort to learn daily and something that is doable but short in the time of about 10 minutes. I want to emphasize this again. Because I'll say, Divrei Torah tzrichen chizuk, the words of Torah need chizuk, need to strengthen it. It is probably the most difficult thing for a person to do something consistent. Consistency is the most challenging thing. It's precisely where we are consistent that a person really experiences growth. It's very important that for the women, for the men, here I'm speaking to the women, to dedicate yourselves to doing that learning daily. The purpose of this is going to really help establish your day. That day, to be a day when your mind can be better and more attached to Torah, to ruchnius, to spiritual things. It can influence that day. And having the solidity of that commitment, as short as it is very, very significant. It will go very far in taking the inspirations that we have, the inspiring things we hear, into really transforming it into a midah, into something that really becomes part of us. Hashem should give us, grant us a Shana Tova Mesuka, a good and sweet year that we say sweet, what we're asking for is that we should be able to feel and sense the goodness that it is. And that we should be able to transform and change this din, this strict judgment, into truly a time of closeness. Dodi li, where Hashem is close to us. And should be the source for growth and continuous aliyah, upward movement for the entirety of our year.
Amen.
Okay, so open up to discussion, ideas, questions.
So this is, since we still have some time till Yom Kippur, and I'm trying to focus more on the foot of Yom Kippur, I've learned two, not opposite, but different approaches to the approach of tshuva, two approaches to tshuva. And I'm wondering what the Rav's thoughts and maybe some guidance with these two ideas. One is that that there was a hamahalach, there was an approach, maybe in Slovakia, I don't remember where it was, to kind of like get through the video as quickly as possible because it could be a distraction to really get caught up in the details of the averos that we did, may have done, could have done, whatever. And then another approach, you know, and this, along with that, the approach to tshuva would be not to get distracted by the details, but to really figure out like what's holding you back from greatness. What gets in the way between you and greatness? What is it that what are the real main issues? Like really isolating, focusing on one or two things. You'll get to everything later in life, right? But one or two things that hold you back from greatness, and it's usually a midah or a whole mahalach that you have that's not serving you to help you become who you need to become. And so that's on one side, and I'm trying to figure out on the other side how we're supposed to treat vidui then. And I was thinking that maybe perhaps I didn't take enough time to do this reflection that I needed, and I was thinking between now and Yom Kippur, I'm going to go through the vidui. Other years I kind of didn't want to do that, and this idea that I just mentioned supported not getting too immersed in that. But I was thinking perhaps I would be doing that between now and Yom Kippur, and I'm wondering if you can give some guidance on that.
Yeah, I'll share with you a practice that Rav Nachman had, just to give you a mashal of what the vidui should be like. Rav Nachman used to have a practice with his Hasidim that they should tell him everything. Come clean.
Sounds familiar, but not
Yeah.
That's not a safe place, except if you can trust who it's being told to.
I mean, it sounds like Christianity, I'm sorry. It was just for
Right.
a moment.
I understand.
The results of your sins by going to the
I
priest, but I
understand.
know it's not that.
I understand.
That's my first association, you know.
Right, but you should know that
Where do
this
you think they get this
originates.
Huh?
You should know that it originates with the karbanos, because when you said a karban, you did vidui out loud in the presence of the kohen. And the Ma'arva Shemesh says, just to clarify how different it is, the Ma'arva Shemesh says that when you would be mitzvah, when you would articulate the aveira on the karban, and the kohen would see that you really weren't properly remorseful.
Weren't?
Or not. You were paying lip service, or you were saying it, but you would not really reach down to a place of real brokenness. Ma'arva Shemesh says the Kohen, who was blessed with the sense, would instruct the Levium to sing. And he quotes earlier Svarim about this, and he says he would instruct the Levium to sing a heartbreaking song. A song that would break their heart.
Who says this?
The Ma'arva Shemesh, and he quotes earlier Svarim about where this was from. And that the Levium who sang, their tachlis, the purpose here, was to bring the person to a place of real brokenheartedness. And after that point, he says that when he would see that, he would then instruct the Levium to break into a song of joy when the person had reached that place of true leiv nishba, broken heart. So I use that as a mashal just to differentiate between what Yom Kippur is and what maybe El is. On Yom Kippur, it's vidui. And vidui means that a person simply comes clean. Mamish says that which they did. Everything. That's what the al-chetz are.
Do you mean beyond the written vidui, a reflection, what would precede it as a deep reflection, so you can articulate your own? I mean, we're supposed to do that.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, would you include that in your Shemona Esrei?
So I would suggest that the al-chetz, the vidui, in other words, Yom Kippur, is that place. This is the place where you're speaking to Hashem, and a person says everything. It could be more of a focus on midos. What are those core character traits the person's really struggling with? That is really propelling the Aveira. Or it could be speaking about Aveira. But this is the place where a person comes clean, says it. And it's supposed to be a vidu, where you articulate it. This is the way you really release the Aveira and the effect of it from the neshama. However, where is this going toward? Where's it being released to? For that, you really have to understand Yom Kippur a little better. And that, perhaps we'll speak on more in Tishrei, is mikveh Yisrael Hashem. That Yom Kippur is a mikveh. A person is immersing themselves in the mikveh. It means that not just they're just like releasing themselves of Aveira, but they're becoming cleansed and purified. So if one's releasing the Aveira, or releasing Chet to Hashem, and becoming tahor through it. And so therefore the kavanah, the intent should be that I'm becoming tahor, I'm becoming clean through this. Because as I extract and say the Aveiros that are there, or the midos, the character traits that really are the source of that, tahara, purity is coming. The other part is really elul, or beyond elul, person's own cheshbon hanefesh, self-introspection. Vidu is not really the time for that. It could end up like that. A person will stop the Shemona and begin to think, which is wonderful, and it could be that the thoughts will take them toward there. But it's not really the place for that. That is really the place of elul, or a cheshbon nefesh. A person takes time out by themselves and thinks. That's when a person can get a better handle on themselves and real change that can occur.
Back to the mashal that you're using as like a student or a child that's done something wrong, and that's fear and trepidation that they feel when they're going to when the parent calls them or the principal office. That there's also mixed with that the discomfort is coming. I think also from a shame and a sense of guilt. That creates a discomfort that you want remedied. Because it's after you get your punishment, there's almost like a sense of relief. And it's like you want to be, like you're talking about, cleansed. Your soul really needs that. And I'm thinking of the Shalosh Esher Midot HaRachamim, the last thing, the last midah is V'nakei.
That's interesting. Are you asking a question as well? Is there a question?
A comment on.
Comment. So, just about the guilt. The negative guilt is what I was speaking about on Shabbos, when we allow Aveira to become attached to us, that this is who I am. Okay, so I just want to clarify that. When we use that word guilt, so usually, very often, this is something negative, where we allow Aveira to become attached to us. It doesn't go away. In other words, this is who I am. In other words, I am a not good something, which is the conclusion of the action that you did. It's the attachment of the action to the identity of the person. And that's the type of guilt that doesn't have a place. Doesn't have a place with us. that seeks to identify the person from the action that they did.
I was thinking kind of like, not the same, but like what is the source of this discomfort? And I also think that some of the discomfort is what's going to be the result. And like, you think about a relationship of marriage and say someone has something to confess that's very extreme, like maybe they were unfaithful. And then, we have to work this through and you have a Sarasami Chuba and like, but what's going to be? Like, what is going to be? And like, that's not comfortable. And so, I mean, where is the, like, maybe we should be uncomfortable.
No, without a doubt. Certainly. I didn't get a chance to speak on Rosh Hashanah, so I wasn't able to translate this point.
You're absolved.
But Rosh Hashanah is supposed to begin that way. The Solomon Rebbe says that if somebody else is giving you your punishment, like the principal, then they only work within literally one framework, like the principal. It's not a place of bracha. That's all you get. If Hashem was strictly only the relationship was one-dimensional, so then there would be a place to stay with that uncomfortable feeling. Since the relationship is more multidimensional, he's a father, so that changes the picture completely.
Well, but then that's saying, okay, we're going to go to marriage counseling, and we'll see how it works out, and we'll see whether you do it again or whatever it is. But like, I still feel like in that time when you're trying to work something out, and like, this is serious. Like, I betrayed you in a big way or a small way, and like, in a serious relationship, that hurts the person who betrayed, and that is really uncomfortable to see. How is the person going to react? What's going to be their final conclusion? And even if the final conclusion is an embrace, until that comes, it's like, really, I think that it's even nerve-wracking. Perhaps the only way to really get rid of that feeling is by completely embracing whatever, if Hashem decides that he wants to, God forbid, take my child away, then I'm happy with that because that's what Hashem decided I need for my relationship with him.
Okay.
That's huge.
So this is the point of Solomon Rebbe, as he says. The character of Rosh Hashanah, what should we feel on Rosh Hashanah? He says, bitachon. And he says, more than that, he says, it's a simcha that comes from bitachon. In other words, whatever the case is, if there is a relationship there, then that relationship is so defining of whatever is going to occur. So even though there is action, there's a reality of certain things, the relationship as a whole always gives a solidity of support. And therefore, the enveloping feeling of Rosh Hashanah, he says, is bitachon.
That's like a much bigger avoda.
Also because
Yes.
It's not a
Yes.
marriage one for the individual
Yes.
and HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The paradigm is not a marriage one. Klal Yisrael and Hashem, we have a contract, and it's a marriage relationship. But we are father and child. It's not a give and take that's equal. HaKadosh Baruch Hu's the parent. That even if you mess up, that support the Rebbe is saying that's the paradigm. It's more of a parent-child than the marriage, right?
Yeah, and everything we say here is the ideas toward avoda.
I also think it's the discomfort. Nobody likes change, even good change, right? So it is that you kind of have to embrace it, because once you get to that place of discomfort, it's not nearly as painful as you made it seem, okay? And that it's almost like, when you're blowing up a balloon, and it's like when you just kind of acknowledge a feeling, it takes the air out of it. But it's that we're so afraid of feeling something that we keep running from it, and then we're not able to embrace it and go through it.
Also, that's what Abel was, what you were saying, like,
That's
I
what we
need
talk-
the Dodi, like, here's all my stuff. Here's all that stuff. And then the Dodi Li, Tishrei, Hashem coming to us and saying, you're still with me. There's no, it's like it will never be a break. It will never be like, well, what will be is an increased closeness, because you just said, like, here's all my stuff. It's a complete, open and honest place, place of change. It's really hard to do, but once you're through that, like, wow, it's even closer.
The other thing too is that it's kind of disconnected. If you think about Yom Kippur is a happy day. It is, a day where we know that if we have the proper intentions in mind, that Hashem is going to, they said, kind of purify us, and then we can kind of feel like we're not weighed down by our baggage anymore to go forward for the next year. But we still start off Kol Nidre in this trepidation. There's still, the repetition 3 times, and each time getting a little more confident, a little more, a little louder. It's still, we're not entering Yom Kippur in a mindset of already having, gone through the gate. We're not already, it's kind of like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or, right, like we're just, like we're not, it doesn't seem to exactly flow. We kind of seem almost a step behind Rosh Hashanah in a little bit.
Right, that's a good insight. It does seem to be that it's not a flow in the sense that you've moved from a certain point, but that from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur has that constant movement, and it will always be initiated by that feeling, even entering Yom Kippur. Except the conclusion of Yom Kippur, like the Medrash says, the Paschal, the heavenly voice comes out and says, "Go and eat your food in joy." Salachti kivarecha, salachti, I've forgiven you as your word.
Very simple, practical application question, which is, how do you read all those words and come clean at the same time? I could do one or the other. I'm like trying to figure out how do you do them both at the same time.
What do you mean?
Well, you said that during Vidui or during the Al-Khayd is when you're supposed to really dig deep and say all those midos and all those averos, and you still have to read all those words. So, like, I could do one or the other. I'm not sure how you do both.
Oh, okay.
Like, really
okay.
practical,
Yeah.
practical question.
Like say it and ponder?
Yeah. So,
And not enough time, like.
so the different approaches. One could,
What's that? You got all day.
yeah.
How many audience?
That's
Like
right.
5 of them.
It's hard. I think it's why it's hard for women to daven with a minion, because like that all thing could take 4 hours.
Yeah.
Really, like, who cares
Yeah, I
about
think it's also
that?
My kids will be running crazy if I do that.
I mean, I thought it was maybe kind of a stupid question, but it sounds like it really is.
And
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
it's in between the vidui.
So let me explain. So you could do one of 2 things. One can very quickly go through the nusach, the actual text of the Torah. It's fine. That's just the nusach of what we are supposed to say, so that vidui is said. And then a person can stop and just think, reflect, and speak their own words. At that point in Shemon Esrei, you've already said Yudah Ratzon and Refi. A person can say their own tachanun, their own supplications. The vidui always comes at the end. And one should say that line beforehand, and therefore you can interrupt. Or a person, and this might be easier, and take the particular al-chet.
Ratzon is after the Al-Khayd, it's right before.
It's placed either afterwards or before, but in the Siddurim, it will say there, you can say Yudah Ratzon now at this point, and then before the vidui. So therefore you've concluded Shemon Esrei. At that point, it's called tachanunim, supplications. Like in Shemon Esrei, we say Elokai Nitzur. And at that point, one can insert any supplication they want, and also answer things as well. Like you can respond to things as well at that point. You can answer Hashem. If you say that there. So either one can go quickly through the text, the nusach, or they can use each al-chet itself as a place for them to sort of dive in to that particular midah or avera. And there's nothing wrong with staying with the Shemona Esrei. I mean, many Talmidei Chachamim spent the entire Yom Kippur just in Shemona Esrei. That's the main thing is the vidui. Much of everything else are piyutim, are poems that are Hosafos additions. They're special, but they're not essential. Or things that really build up toward that. The main mitzvah of the day is vidui. And therefore, one can and should immerse themselves in that.
Another practical davening question. So, I'm not sure if I'm going to be in shul at all. If or if I am, I know it's not going to be that much time. Now, like Rosh Hashanah is kind of the same thing. Just doesn't work out practically with the kids' schedules. And I can't bring the baby into shul because that's destructive. So when I'm going through my personal Shemona Esrei, Unisana Tokaf isn't in there. That's only in Chazar Sashatz. So Unisana Tokaf is such an essential, from what I learned, essential part of Rosh Hashanah for davening. Should I then, after my personal Shemona Esrei, go through and find the things that are in Chazar Sashatz, like Unisana Tokaf and other things that are part of the integral
Yes.
So it's not a problem to see those then even without being in the
Correct. These are all poems. It can be said. Even the Yudhim Vidal Sharachim can be said without a minyan if they're said in the way that one would read it in the Torah in a laning sort of way. You can ask your husband how you lane that, and that's how you could say it.
Okay.
But the main thing is to immerse myself in the vidui.
Now I know again the vidui is repeated in Chazar Sashatz. So should I be repeating the vidui again at home, meaning get through Shemona Esrei and then go through and repeat vidui again?
No.
Okay.
But one should try and say the vidui 5 times through the course of Yom Kippur, including the Erev Yom Kippur.
That's a 6. No, that in
Not Ma'ariv.
Mincha is not
no,
included
it's
in the
5th. It's 5, isn't it? Because they don't.
It's Ma'ariv,
Mincha,
Shacharis,
Ma'ariv,
Musaf,
Shacharis,
Mincha,
Musaf,
and
Ne'ilah.
So the 5 don't include the
Ne'ilah.
Mincha. That would be a 6th if you wanted to.
Yesterday I tried to go to the shul for the Shiur, and my kids wouldn't let me stay there. But so the rabbi was talking about tshuva b'ahava or tshuva b'yiras Hashem, and the difference between the two. And I got to thinking, like, for my own personal, like, if I do some avera, if I'm not a nice person to another person, we have an exchange, and I'm wanting to make tshuva, I'm wanting to reach out to this person, a person doesn't want to, or is not in their own place of receiving. And even throughout the year, for me, I've tried to figure this out a few times, asked for, I don't know if it was exactly forgiveness, but can we open up this discussion of whatever happened, and something happened between a friend. I'm not even sure how it started up something very small and became a thing where it's so big that the exchange of our communication with a friend, someone I care deeply about, but I think she's not in a place to take out anything else. If I've asked 3 times to go over this or for forgiveness, do I keep doing this? I even have called, we're in different places now. Do I keep going for the sake of tshuva? Is it because I feel like I really do love this person. I feel like I need to have some openness and communication. Is it my fear of like Hashem that I'm not repairing this relationship, helping another person, or helping myself to feel better? I'm not sure where it's coming from, or is it coming from a place of love? When somebody else doesn't want to take it out and look at it, do you keep going? And on another tachlis level, like, I was just thinking, how do you catalog,
the little averas that you do, like from minute one, like Chas v'shalom, like right after Yom Kippur, and you accidentally turn on a light, okay, and then, or whatever it is, and something tiny, oh my gosh, I pulled a hair out on Shabbos, or, I shouldn't have, or whatever, I'm like yanking through my hair. During Al-Chet, obviously some things ring a little, reside a little stronger in you, bang a little harder, and other things, but how do you catalog and really go through during Vidui all the little things and all the big things, and do they have, obviously they don't have the same weight, but when you want to work that through to really make that tshuva, how do you catalog? Is it important to actually catalog like the tiny things from like, say, a big thing, or a relationship thing from a?
So about your first point, for the purpose of relationship, you might want to pursue it. That you have to really decide. For the purpose of tshuva, it's not your issue.
Why not?
It's theirs.
They won't open it up. This is something that now, I've gone to this 3 times to this prison. I also taught in processing something that happened with another person, found out that this exact situation happened with another person, and this person also shut them down. So this person is clearly having some things with themselves about not taking out issues and wanting to look at it, just simply like closing that relationship down and going forward. So I'm not concerned genuinely about the health of it, but so I don't have to keep going.
For the purpose of tshuva, the halacha is very clear. The person goes and asks forgiveness from that person on 3 different occasions. If they don't forgive you, it's their issue. It's no longer yours. You've done what you should do. And that's actually a very important point, because their issue might sit with you, and you think that
still sits, it hurts, even though it was an equal.
Whatever the cause of it is, it's very clear that if a person is willing to humble themselves and ask forgiveness, and the other person not ready to receive it, it's their problem. It's their issue. And it's pretty indicative that there's an issue over there. If a person really humbled themselves to come to you 3 times, most likely there's an issue. It's not your issue. For the purpose of a relationship, again, you have to gauge that relationship if it's worthwhile pursuing it. It might not be, but each one has to be approached according to it.
Like a golden retriever. I'll fix this.
Regarding the second
There may not be a dog person, but I'll kiss them anyway. Or I don't know.
One has to be very careful there. Because if you adopt that as really as yours, a person will walk around with a lot of bad feelings. It's not really appropriate, even if you do something wrong.
Right, and
as I
you
said,
drop it really. I took this other person's husband, who also said it has issues, and she's not a person who does this or communicates. But I guess it just makes me sad. And sad is a different emotion than tshuva.
Right, that's a good point. In regard to the second point, it's not so beneficial for us necessarily to catalog Avera. We are not the spiritual place, most of us, that really makes sense for us. We're going to make a catalog and keep track. In the olden days, people could tell you, for example, it says in Aseret Tshuva, you're supposed to do tshuva for all the Averos you did on that day throughout the entire year. So let's say Yom Rishon, Aseret Tshuva, you're doing tshuva on every Aver of Yom Rishon. So we don't walk around with that consciousness to know what happened every Yom Rishon, every Sunday of the year, every Aver you did. Right? Unless your schedule is so clear that you know what you did, and the Averos usually happen on those days. So fine. You don't,
Shabbos you could have in mind anytime.
We're not like that.
Accidentally.
Yeah. Our law is not really on our madrega.
That's about it, though.
It's much more beneficial for a person to really introspect into themselves, try to understand what causes those things. And what I would suggest is to learn every day. Because if you learn every day, you're a different person. And if you're a different person, then you think and act differently. And that will have the greatest effect toward real change.
My husband told me about your drosh, which I missed when I was with kids. It sort of connected. It felt like, he's like, what he said was that each one of your droshes sort of build on the next one. He notices that, and he was saying how, because you do one thing, that you're going up. If you hold on to something, it's holding you as a place that you don't need to be at, so that you need to drop it. Okay, so it happened, whatever it was, do that tshuva and then see who you want to become as opposed to who it's holding you, or it's holding you. I needed to hear that one.
That I cannot record.
I think I've been
Thank you very much.
Very much.